Hi, first graders. Mrs. Williams here. Glad to see you. I hope you're doing well. I hope your families are doing well. And I need to read a little something before I read the book that I'm going to read. I am presenting a birthday bash hat with permission from Scholastics. They gave me permission to read the book that has the sound that we're working on this week in language arts. So the sound ASH, ash, is the sound we're working on. And this book has the word in it. So we're going to practice with it, okay? And the book is called A Birthday Bash Hat. Pretty lady there. Word families ASH. That's what we're focusing on this week. Mrs. Pat was invited to a birthday bash. I need a new hat, said Mrs. Pat. So the word bash has ASH, ash in it, our sound, and bash is another way to say party. The next day, she bought a plain straw hat. This hat's too flat, said Mrs. Pat. First, she added a sash to the hat. That is better, said Mrs. Pat. So a sash is sometimes something someone will tie around a dress that sort of looks like a ribbon. Then she added bright pink flowers to the hat. A splash of color, said Mrs. Pat. So a splash is just a little bit. Next, she added blue feathers to the hat. I hope they don't clash, said Mrs. Pat. So the word clash means that maybe your colors will compete with each other and it won't look so good. So she's hoping the colors look good. Then she added a pin shaped like a cat. Some dash for my hat, said Mrs. Pat. So she wanted to add some character or some flavor to her hat. So she has this cat pin here. Next, she added gold buttons to the hat. These are from my favorite stash, said Mrs. Pat. So stash would be something you collect. So maybe she collects buttons. She was finally ready for the birthday bash. Oh my, some hat, said Mrs. Pat. So she's admiring her hat. Mrs. Pat put on her new hat. Then she stepped outside onto the mat. The sky became gray. It started to rain. Raindrops fell on her hat with a splat. So the rain just splat on her hat, coming down. The bright pink flowers started to look like mash. Oh, they're coming down. They're not so pretty anymore. The feathers drooped and gave her a rash. So we know what a rash is when you kind of feel itchy or maybe get some bumps, and that's what's happening to her. Poor Miss Pat. The buttons fell into a puddle with a big splash. Oh, we know what a splash is. The cat pin fell to the ground with a loud crash. Well, we know what a crash sounds like when you drop something. Mrs. Pat's new hat was now quite flat. Oh, drat. No hat for the birthday bash, said Mrs. Pat. So poor Mrs. Pat, she didn't have a very good day. Oh, no. Okay, so from the letter ASH and the sound ash, then I'm going to go over prepositions with you. So for prepositions, we talk about prepositions and get my things together. Okay, so prepositions, they show direction, whether you're going in or under somewhere. They show relationship between words. So if you said, in our house, the cat does whatever it likes, you're comparing words. Show position, whether it's in front or the back. But a preposition preposition is a special group of words that connects a noun or a pronoun to the rest of the sentence. So a special group of words that connects the noun or pronoun to the sentence. So my tip for today, so Mrs. Williams has a tip for the day of how to find prepositions when you're looking at a sentence. Mrs. Williams' tip of the day. So with my tip of the day, I'm going to use a squirrel, and I'm going to name my squirrel Foxy. Okay, so this is Foxy, and I have a tree stump that goes with Foxy, and I'm going to kind of explain where I'm headed with this, because you're probably thinking, what in the world? Why does Mrs. Williams have a squirrel with a nut in its mouth and a stump sitting there? But this is something that will help you always to know if the word you're looking at is a preposition, okay? So I have a way that we can find out if something's a preposition or not. Okay, so if a word can fit into this sentence, then we know that it's a preposition. So we're going to try it out, okay? So we said words of position, yes? So Foxy ran in the stump. So Foxy ran in the stump. Yes, that makes sense. That checks out. Foxy ran around the stump. That makes sense too. Foxy ran around. Around's a preposition. Foxy ran in between the stump. And that checks out too. Foxy ran over the stump. Foxy ran behind the stump. Foxy ran in the stump. So you get the idea. If it can fit in this sentence, then we know that it's a preposition. So that is my tip for the day on how to know if something's a preposition or not. So you always have to remember, if someone asks you what part of speech it is, if you can fit it, Foxy ran blank the stump, and that word fits in there and it makes sense, then you know that it's a preposition, okay? That's a really good thing to use to find out if something's a preposition or not. So what I want to do now is I want to practice with you a little bit. Okay, prepositions, guided instructions. Some words help you add details to your writing. They help answer the questions when and where. We run and play at the park. Kim is inside the library. So we have the word at and inside. Well, we could say with what we know, Foxy ran at the stump. Yep, Foxy ran at the stump. That checks out. And then the other thing they said was Foxy ran inside the stump. Yeah, if there was a hole, Foxy could certainly run inside the stump. Move this up just a little bit. Okay. All right, so we have 3 sentences here we're going to practice with since we're learning about prepositions. And I have a few fun lessons for you too that are going to be in a PowerPoint in Google Classroom for you to practice. So it says here, complete each sentence with a word from the box. So we have the word after, during, and over. Well, first of all, let's see if those really are prepositions. So Foxy ran after the stump. That could work. Sure could. Foxy ran during the stump. Could be. Foxy ran over the stump. That will work too. Okay, so I can climb blank the stone wall. I can climb after the stone wall. Well, that doesn't make any sense. I can climb during the stone wall. I don't know that that sounds as good. I can climb over the stone wall. That makes more sense, and it's more descriptive with the writing. Our class plays kickball after recess or during recess. Well, after recess, that wouldn't make any sense, so it must be during. You would play kickball during recess. So during would go there. And then the only one we have left is after. We can see the stars after it is dark. That checks out. That makes sense. So that one definitely makes sense on there. All right. So I'm going to review with you for just a little bit, okay? So we have the word ash. Okay, that sound that we were talking about, and from the word sound you can go through the alphabet, and I just sort of went through to see what I could come up with it, say in a couple minutes, and on your Google slide you have 10 minutes. There's a timer, you can check it out and see how many you could list, but I went through the alphabet. Ash, bash, cash, clash, crash, dash, flash, gash, hash, lash, mash, rash, sash, slash, smash, and trash. I'm sure there's more out there, but that's just what I came up with. And then we went over what a preposition is. A preposition is something that we said, here was our definition. It's a special group of words that connects a noun or a pronoun to the rest of the sentence. So we know that's what the definition is, but we know with Mrs. Williams' tip of the day, that if it will fit in here, then it is a preposition. Foxy ran beneath the stump. Foxy ran over the stump. Foxy ran next. Well, next won't work, but let's say, to check it out, if we said, let's see if a noun could even work in there in a situation. Whoops, I'm trying to figure out where I put my penguin. Okay, here's my penguin. Okay, so Foxy ran penguin the stump. That won't work because penguin's a noun, so that can't work in there. That doesn't say anything about position or showing any direction, so that can't work in that. But Foxy ran through the stump, so through. Foxy ran across the stump. Those are all prepositions. If they will fit in there and it makes sense, then it's a preposition. So that is your tip for the day. Just a brief rundown of our week in language arts. Your work for the week is going to be on a Google slide. You have prepositions. There's this video, of course, and the ash sound that we just talked about. You will have hunks and chunks to practice, and you're going to have slides on phonics, and there'll be a sheet on phonics to answer, and then you'll have a book report that's over your book that you're just reading for fun, okay? And fluency practice with the letters ASH, that's on your slide too. You just complete everything on your slide and turn your slide in. And then lastly, your writing prompt is, how have I shown kindness to someone this week? Okay, that's your writing prompt. But have a great day, and thanks for hanging out with me. Bye-bye.